Welcome to a MainelyDIY.com video. Hi, today we're going to make a waterfall card and we're going to feature a set of cute rubber stamps, but I'm going to start with, I have this paper punch. If you don't have one, it's fine, but I have it, so I punched out some squares and then I rubber stamped on them and then I colored them. Then I took 4 of them and just glued them on to some cardstock. And then I took my 1/4-inch ruler and nested it right up along the top, and then I was able to trim those off. I see I didn't quite trim this one, so I'm nesting it right up there, taking my cutter, yeah, and then I got some nice squared cornered pieces. I used a 1/4-inch ruler, and so I ended up with 2 3/4-inch squares. You can adjust that some if you like. Okay, so the next piece we need is our mechanism, and I have a piece of stock. It's 11 inches long, and I've cut it to the width of my squares. Now I've only mounted 3. And you'll see why. We're going to use 4 designs, but you'll see why in a moment. So let me get my scoreboard. Okay, so I am going to take my scoring tool, and my first one is, because this is 2 3/4 inches, I want it to be the same as that. So there's 2 3/4 of an inch. And then I'm going to score again 3/4 of an inch away from my first scoring. So that would be, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 3.5 inches, 4 1/4, and then another quarter, be right on 5 inches, just like that. So I've made 1, 2, 3, 4 scores. No pun intended there. And then I'm just going to kind of bend those up. I want to make sure that they can move. So I set that aside. This is my card front I chose to use, which is very busy. It's a good way to use that because it'll only be peeking out through the edges. So, and then I cut a strip of paper 3/4 of an inch wide by the width of my cardstock. So I am going to take, and I'm going to put some brads in there. So somewhere on the order of right there. You don't have to be super particular about where you get them, but we'll punch the holes for the brads. Okay, do your best to get those centered. And I'm going to attach my brads. Okay. So then I'm going to mount this to a piece of cardstock. So I am going to take and put some glue on the back of that as soon as I find what I did with my little glue stick. And I'm going to take and glue it on there. Now I'm going to come in with my 1/4-inch ruler and line that up on the edge of things and trim things off. So I'm going to start with this one right here. Okay, so I don't like how it sits with the stud on there, so I am going to use my grips ruler here, and then I can see what I'm doing a little better. Okay, then I'll come in with my 1/4-inch ruler here, and then I can nest it right up against that edge. Slice that right off. There, okay, so here is our card base all completed. I'm going to take this one, which is my greeting, and then kind of center it right in this piece, so I don't actually have to make another back. So I'll go ahead and glue that on, because I use the same color for my sliding piece. Otherwise I'd have to make a border for that piece, but this way I don't need to. Okay, so this is the next one that I want on the inside, so I'm going to take my glue stick and run it right up there, and take my little piece and line it right up there with that score line. And then I'm going to take my next piece I want and run the glue up there, that strip. Line this guy right up, and then glue this last one right in. So this long flap you're going to fold underneath. Let's get this glue mat out of the way. And right under this portion of our card, so I'm going to use some double stick red tape here. This is the really strong adhesive. And what I'm doing is I'm going to tape this side right to the edge of this panel here. And with the card sitting there, I can pretty much see how long that needs to be. So I'm going to put it right there. Take a little pair of scissors and snip that off. There we go. Okay. And then I'm going to make sure it's about lined up. Okay, and I'll peel a piece off of this. Come on. There we go. Alright, so you line that right up, burnish it down a little bit. Okay. So then when we pull this piece, that's our waterfall card. So I think I will get a paper punch, and I'm going to try to punch right about in the center of that. And I'm going to put a ribbon in there, but I think I also want to curve my corners just to make it a little fancy. I'm going to go ahead and use this big quarter round one for my, it's not a 1/4 inch, so. Yeah, make it look a little nicer. And then I am going to take some ribbon. And let's see, I want it about so long. I'm going to come up through the back side here. I folded it in half, or about in half, came up through the back side, and then I will do that. Just like that. And then I can go ahead and trim these off to make them look nice. So we can put another sentiment right on there. You don't want anything that's bulky, so I wouldn't put a layer of something, but you can stamp right on there. so here's our card all finished up. So that's closed, and as we pull, our otters come by one, and then we have our little sentiment, and then an extra sentiment here on our pull tag. Alright, so, and then this is the back side. I might consider maybe putting a lighter piece of cardstock on that, and that will give you a place to write something if you would like to do that. Okay, so my front ends up measuring 7 by 5. So let's go 4.5. 4.5 by 6.5, which just happens to be my ruler width. So that's going to be a nice size for the back of that. And I'll take my quarter rounder. Go ahead and add that right to the back with some glue. Hey, so let's take a look at our finished waterfall card. I'll include the stamp set. A link to the stamp set I used on my web blog, so you can check that out at mainlydiy.com. And we'll get this cute little otter. As we turn the page, the otters flip almost like an old-fashioned flip book. And then we have a couple sentiments in here. And let's push it back in, made a pull tag, and we have some nice place to write on.